Hey golfers, and welcome back to the Second Swing YouTube channel. It is another live at lunch here. As you know, we do them every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Time. And if you've been following lately, we've been focusing on the golf balls. And of course, a big component of the golf equipment landscape is the golf ball. It's the one piece of equipment that you use for every golf shot. And so we're diving into golf balls every week, and we have a very special guest joining us today to talk about Titleist golf balls, and it is Frederick Waddell. He's the Director of Golf Ball Product Management for Titleist. It's a big day for Titleist in that the new iron launch is out, but of course today we're going to talk about golf balls with Frederick. Frederick, first of all, thank you for joining. How's the year going so far? I know it's a big one in terms of golf balls for Titleist with the Pro V1 celebrating 25 years. How's everything going for you?
Oh, it's great to be with you, Drew. Thanks for having me. It's been a really exciting year. As you know, we kicked off kind of a celebration of 25 years since the original Pro V1 launched in 2000 with a new launch of Pro V1 this January at the PGA show for golfers everywhere. And we've had a great year. We started with really solid tour validation, players putting the new models, Pro V1 and Pro V1X in play quickly. We've had some great wins. This week at the Tour Championship, Pro V1 will be the most played ball at that championship, and the new 2025 Pro V1 will be the most played model. So it's been a great year. We think golfers everywhere have flocked to the new Pro V1, and we're excited about the momentum we have right now, with not just with Pro V1 and Pro V1X, but all of our products.
Yeah, I saw something like 80-something% too at the USAM. We're playing a Titleist Pro V1 or Pro V1X or Left Dash, whatever the I guess variety of Pro V1 golf ball you want to look at there. But I think it was an overwhelming majority, right? And that seems to be the case throughout really any tour that you look at. And so it's fascinating, and that's kind of where I wanted to start is the Pro V1 story. So I know throughout this, we're going to go into the entire Titleist golf ball lineup. We'll talk about obviously AVX, Tour Soft, etc. But the Pro V1 golf balls are kind of the biggest name in golf balls out there, the most recognizable brand, so to speak. And there's a reason for that. So I kind of want to just get the story from you on the story of the Pro V1. This 25 years, back to 2000, right? There was a pretty significant change in the entire golf ball world with their first Pro V1. So could you kind of just let our viewers in on some insight as to what was so much different about the Pro V1 at that time?
Well, it's an amazing story because it really changed the way golfers think about golf balls. So if you go back to the 90s, there were really two classes of golf balls. There were very high spin golf balls in every part of the game. So you had a golf ball like Titleist Professional or Tour Balata, or before that, a ball called 384 Tour. These were golf balls that were very high spin, not just into and around the greens, but off the tee as well. And professionals loved that golf ball because they could take advantage of all that spin and control around the greens. And they were skilled enough to not let the ball fly wildly offline with their driver, and they could control with their irons. So they loved playing balls like Professional and Tour Balata. The amateur golfer, though, at the time, maybe not as skilled, was interested in the other class of golf balls, which is really what we call a two-piece distance golf ball. This is a ball designed to be low spin, but it was low spin everywhere. So easier for a less skilled golfer to control it off the tee. You weren't getting these wild, hooks and slices, but they didn't get the spin and control that they needed to really shoot their best score into and around the greens. And in the late 90s, a group of our research and development team at Titleist said, hey, what if we took all the things we love about two-piece distance golf balls, low spin, high speed off the tee, and combine them with all the things we love about Professional and Tour Balata, that very soft urethane cover. And the invention was Pro V1, a three-piece solid core, ionomer casing layer, and then cast urethane cover golf ball that was very high speed but low spin off of the tee. And so amateurs and pros loved it because it was much easier to control on tee shots and with longer clubs. But as you got closer to the green, that very thin cast thermoset urethane elastomer cover over that hard casing layer generated a lot of spin. And so whether you're a pro, highly skilled, or an amateur, 5, 10, 15, 20 handicap, you were getting the benefit of that soft covering to and around the greens, which generates a lot of spin and helps you stop the golf ball. So Pro V1 is this revolution that we look back on and are celebrating 25 years of now, because it took two different classes of golf ball and put them together so that the golf ball that was best for the professional was also now best for the average golfer. Again, the 5, 10, 15, 20 handicap even, they're going to get the most control out of a Pro V1 golf ball. And that wasn't the case prior to Pro V1 coming along in 2000. And so to have that breakthrough, to then have the immediate validation, I saw some B-roll you were just showing of Billy Andre winning in Las Vegas in October of 2000, the first week it was in play. 5-round tournament back then, which is pretty fun to think back on. And the majority of the top 10 that week playing it, 47 players in the field making the switch that week. And really by the time the calendar turned to 2001, that wound high spin classic golf balls, professional, tour ballata, et cetera, was almost non-existent on tour because everybody realized they were at a disadvantage if they weren't playing Pro V1 or eventually then Pro V1X.
Yeah, that is, it's crazy to see and look back and read about how quickly players adopted that into their games. And because, like, you talk about the idea of combining, some of the, quote unquote, the features of the distance ball, right? Or the low spin ball. And then, of course, at the time, what was the tour ball? What do you know? It was the idea out there to do that before, but just wasn't able to execute it the right way, in the industry, or was Titleist kind of the first to have this idea to combine them into one? Because I feel like there was probably a moment there where it was like, well, that's kind of a radical idea to have, a golf ball that can have the best of both worlds, or that can be played by everybody and have the same benefits. So it kind of, I guess the question is, was that a radical idea at the time that Titleist kind of went and tried, or was it tried before and just really Titleist was the first brand to kind of, execute it the right way?
Well, I think, Drew, it's all about your frame of reference. Whether in the 90s and in the 80s, golfers have always been looking to generate low spin on their highest speed shots. So you swing your driver faster than any other club in the bag. But you're not trying to generate the most spin with that club, right? You want to keep that spin rate low. That's how you produce distance and control. But then as your swing slows down and you get closer, call it a pitching wedge, is one of your slowest full swing clubs. You want to generate as much spin as possible, right? Those are scoring shots. Those are shots you want to hit and have them stop. So it doesn't matter what era you were in, you were trying to achieve that. And at Titleist R&D, again, in the 80s, 90s, I wasn't there, obviously. I'm younger than that generation. They were aiming to pursue that and find ways to lower spin in the long game and build in speed. And then as you get closer to the green, add spin and speed doesn't become as important. And so that framework is something they were always pursuing. The aha moment happened in the late 90s when they said, hey, look, we have a ball in professional that does everything we want from inside 150 yards, the spin, the control, all that. And we have a ball that does everything we want from outside 150 yards. It's long, it has those low spin characteristics. What are the things about professional and tour ballata that we can take and apply to those more kind of two-piece distance focused products? And as soon as I think that light bulb went off, of course, there was a lot of prototyping that happened. There were a number of different iterations that were tested, but the team was off and running. And I think for us, we're always focused on helping people play better, golfers play better, and we use the pyramid of influence to guide that. That starts with the tour player, the top of that pyramid. And before we were ready to introduce this in Las Vegas, we spent the whole summer walking holes with over 100 players. We call it the 100-player march. Titleist R&D associates out there saying, hey, are we crazy? Do we think we've got something really revolutionary here? or do we actually have it? And the players validated that. And then again, as soon as we brought it to the locker room in Las Vegas, we literally didn't have enough. We had to fly executives out from Massachusetts with balls, dozens they had in their offices, just so we had enough for that very first event. That's how revolutionary the change was, and how badly the tour players wanted it that week. So I think it's something that we've always been pursuing, and we continue to pursue that today. The principles of low spin, high speed off the tee, and high spin into and around the greens. That's what we're still trying to achieve with this generation of Pro V1 and the next one. So that idea has always been there, and we finally found a way to really bring it to life in a single golf ball. And again, the rest is history at this point.
Right. And so now you kind of mentioned it, but now, 25 years later, that chase is still there for you guys in terms of trying to just optimize things a little bit. So if you could kind of maybe outline the differences that there are now in the original, from the original Pro V1. Now obviously there's multiple models in there with the Pro V1X and the left dash, et cetera. But what would you say are the biggest differences between, the original Pro V1 launched in 2000 in Vegas versus, what you might see today with 2025 Pro V1 that, I might be playing this weekend, right? What would be the performance differences or construction differences there?
Yeah, it's a great question. And obviously 25 years in 2-year life cycles, we've had a number of generations of Pro V1s at this point. I think there's really 3 probably key things that have happened over those 25 years. The first is the introduction in 2003 of Pro V1X. We quickly realized that Pro V1, as revolutionary as it is, we needed an option that flew higher, and was geared towards players who really generated a lot of spin off the tee. And the breakthrough in Pro V1X is that dual core. When you build a dual core, so a very small core with a layer on top of it, that's also core material, you can take compression up. You go up in compression, you add speed, but you also add spin. What the dual core does is it brings that spin down. So now for players who were really high speed at that time, we had a ball that really fit their needs, but did not spin too much. That dual core is a lever to bring spin down. So having a companion product 3 years after the introduction really then gave us these 2 products we could play off of one another in terms of differences: flight, spin, feel. And we've been doing that ever since. If you go back to 2020, to 2000, one of the other big differences now with both of those products is the advancements we've made from an aerodynamic standpoint. You'll recall probably, in some of those who are watching today, the original Pro V1 and subsequent generations until 2007 had a seam on it where the cover was molded, and you'd see that seam as you played. We'd print the side stamp on it. We've eliminated that seam. The consistency you get from that, from an aerodynamic standpoint, is significant. As the ball flies through the air, it's going to land in a much tighter window downrange because we've eliminated that flat area around the golf ball. Big technological advancement there. And our dimple patterns that are subsequent to that 2007 introduction have only improved upon that. So you're getting more consistent flight, tighter land areas downrange. And then finally, I think materials-wise, we've continued to be able to advance and evolve our core materials, our core sizes, the material and hardness that's in that casing layer in between the core and cover. That's varied in thickness and hardness over the years. And the cover as well, it's gotten thinner. That's going to add speed to the shot, but it's also gotten softer. So that means as you get around the green, you're not only getting that soft feel, but you're generating a lot of spin with that. So each generation builds on the previous. They're iterative changes that over time add up to, if you look at today's golf ball 2025 program versus the original, significant changes. But year over year, it's that ability to fine tune that really puts Pro V1 in a class all its own at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you probably, over from one generation to the next, you might not see a huge gigantic difference, if you were to take it out and do some launch monitor testing, or, do a test of your own hitting maybe short game shots. But obviously, I bet that change is probably significant, from the original to the current one. And so it was kind of just because, you guys, it's true, right? And I make this sort of analogy with the irons now that today is kind of the full launch day with T-Series, but it's like T100 is kind of following that same path, T150, where there's, you guys are releasing them every 2 years. There's subtle refinements, but the improvements are there. You guys are paying attention to the subtle things that can make a pretty big difference, especially then if you were to go, say, for the first T100 iron, to the most recent one, you're going to see a big difference. And so that progression is there with the Titleist products. And so...
Well, Drew, you bring up a great point, because it's really core to who we are. We won't do something from generation to generation just because it's new. It has to be better, and it has to be focused on player needs and ultimately validated by them before we'll put it into the product. Certainly on the golf ball side, I don't work on the iron side, but I know they operate with the same principles. And so as a golfer, when we come to the market, whether you're on the PGA Tour or you're like you and me, just trying to play our best every day, when we come to market with a new product, you can rest assured it is better than the prior generation, because we are very disciplined in ensuring that happens. And that means some years there are bigger changes than others. Sometimes we say, hey, we want to do this. We want to take spin out of the long game, but we're just not ready to from a manufacturing standpoint. And we make every Titleist golf ball ourselves in Titleist owned and operated facilities. That's really important to our quality. But if we can't do it at on a consistent basis, we'll take the time to learn how to do that, and it may get pushed to another generation. But that discipline over the years has served us very well, and will continue to for a long time to come.
So let's get into the lineup now of golf balls, because they're obviously Pro V1, Pro V1X, and then to maybe a lesser extent, but the Left Dash are again kind of the most popular, so to speak, Titleist golf balls. But there are others in the lineup that have distinct purposes, distinct characteristics, and can service a lot of golfers. So if you could just kind of break down what's in the golf ball lineup right now. I know we had the Pro V1, Pro V1X, and Left Dash. There's a new model for 2025. 2024, you had kind of the other golf balls in the lineup. So if you could kind of break those down, and maybe the type of player, the type of performance that each ball offers.
Yeah, it's a great question. We have products, and each product has a purpose. And I'll just start with Pro V1 and Pro V1X and Left Dash. And I'll even put AVX in there. Really, those four models, we think anybody who's saying, hey, I want to play my best. And best could be I want to break 70, or it could be I want to break 100. Really, those are the four models you should be looking at. Pro V1, of course, the most popular golf ball in the world, the best performing from a flight, spin, and feel standpoint for most golfers. Penetrating trajectory, kind of lower spin with the long game, great greenside spin and control with very soft feel. That fits the majority of golfers. If you're a golfer looking for a little higher flight or a little more spin with perhaps some firmer feel, Pro V1X is a great golf ball for you. We see golfers who need height and spin. We fit them into Pro V1X a lot. And then if you're like I used to be, you and I were talking before about what golf ball I played. I played Left Dash for a long time because I was very steep, I was very spinny, and Left Dash is a very low spinning, spins even lower than Pro V1, but with higher flight than Pro V1 golf ball. And so we found a lot of golfers who need that spin reduction with their full swing shots, gravitating towards Pro V1X Left Dash. And then finally AVX, very low flying, low spinning. We kind of talk about it as the Fountain of Youth ball. It's not played on tour. It doesn't have the same greenside spin control you might get from a Pro V1, a Pro V1X, or a Left Dash. But if you're the person that says, my 8-iron doesn't go 150 anymore, and that's important to you, go try AVX. I guarantee you will. It's that ball that puts another club back in your bag immediately, again, with great greenside spin and control and really, really soft feel. So those four models kind of lead the way for us in terms of, again, golfers who say, I want to play my best. Now, we understand that not all golfers have that mindset, and not all golfers have the budget for a Pro V1 or Pro V1X. Right. And I think the most underrated product in our product line is TourSoft. TourSoft sits at a price point that's lower than those other four, but it provides unbelievable control and distance in a golf ball that again comes at a discount to those others. TourSoft is very, very high spin ball into and around the greens with very, very long penetrating trajectory off the tee. It's something that, again, if you're saying, I want to play great, but I just have a budget, please go try TourSoft. It's an outstanding model. And then Velocity and TrueFeel are kind of entry-level golf balls. Velocity, very focused on fun, comes in white, green, and orange. That's for the golfer that wants to tee it high and let it fly, kind of as we say. And then TrueFeel, our entry-level price point, very, very focused on soft feel. You're getting that Titleist quality and consistency in TrueFeel. And that golfer really prioritizes, again, softness in all parts of the game. So we think we have a golf ball that not only each model has a clear purpose, but is something for everybody, again, at a variety of prices throughout the market.
Yeah, I mean, it's a full lineup, right? And so within the lineup, every golfer that might be tuning into this or might be out playing golf this weekend, right, is going to have a great option for them within the lineup one way or another. Whether it is a budget thing, whether it's a color thing, or whether it's a performance thing, there are certainly options within the lineup here. And I think that's the really cool part about this is, again, Pro V1, Pro V1X, they get to play on tour, and your favorite golfers are using those, so they kind of get the most notoriety. But there's a ton of form and function, so to speak, throughout these other golf balls that anybody tuning in right now is going to find something, which I think is a great part about Titleist, is making sure that you're servicing every golfer out there.
Well, and if you're a golfer who's watching this and say, gosh, that's great, but I need to learn more, or I'm just not sure, we have 3 really great options at Titleist.com to get fit. One, you can use our online selector tool where you answer a couple questions, and our methodology on Titleist.com will give you a recommendation to go try, as well as an alternative to compare it to. You can also do a virtual fitting where you sign up and in a call like we were having right now, Drew, you can talk to a Titleist golf ball fitter. They'll ask you about your game, and they'll actually send you a sample to try after that consultation. And then also on Titleist.com is you can sign up for a golf ball fitting. We have a map of the U.S. You can go find a fitter near you. It's only about 15 swings. It's free. And you'll generate some data in that fitting to give you a recommendation of a golf ball to try, as well as an alternative, and validate on the golf course. So if you're not sure, go to Titleist.com. There's a wealth of information there, and there are 3 distinct fitting tools that you can use to find out which one's right for your game and ultimately go test it on the golf course.
Yeah, that's a great mention there, because as we like to say, we do a lot of club fitting here at Second Swing, and we also make a ball fitting a part of that towards kind of the end. And the golf ball is the piece of equipment that you're going to use for every shot on the hole, right? You're not going to use your driver for every shot. You're not going to use your putter for every shot. But you will use the golf ball. So it's a very important thing to go get fit for that. So now I kind of wanted to open this up for a few questions from viewers. I do have a couple already that people have submitted. We do have one in here, and I know if there's been maybe some images out there about I believe it was Cameron Young playing a certain type of Pro V1 a couple weeks ago. I guess just a general question on the adoption process. If there's a ratio that you have of like tour players using Pro V1, Pro V1X, left dash, and then maybe some sort of prototype that you know of right now, and then what's that process like of golfers adopting the golf ball or maybe doing some testing? Is it a short process, or are guys doing lots of sessions to try and find the golf ball they need?
It's a great question, Drew, and thank you to whoever sent that in. And I think the answer is it's really core to what makes Titleist Titleist. any given week on the PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, there'll be over 100 players in a 156 player field, well over 100, 110 in a lot of instances, playing a Titleist golf ball. And of those 100, 110 players, 80% probably will be playing the ball that you're buying on the shelf week in, week out. Those other 20% are playing what we call a CPO, a customized performance option. Now, Left Dash started as a CPO. Some of you might be familiar with Pro V1 Left Dot, also a CPO. And what those have been designed to do is two things, and they're really important. One is if there's a player with a really, really unique need from a golf ball standpoint out on tour, we want to help them play their best. If there's something that just doesn't work for them in either Pro V1 or Pro V1X, we will work with them to try and meet their needs. But they have a unique attack angle, or they just are looking for something different. We want to learn from them. Because what that allows us to do is test technologies that are kind of at the tail end of the bell curve. And those technologies could be, different materials, different dimple patterns, different core sizes or cover thicknesses or cover hardnesses. And when we put those into a golf ball and we go to a player and say, will you play this on Thursday when the tournament starts? And they either say yes or no. If they say yes, we get the most real feedback we can on that technology. And That's what the CPO program is designed to do. Again, fit those unique needs, test future-looking technologies. And I can tell you over the years, technologies in Left Dot, technologies in Left Dash, they have all made their way into the golf balls that you and I play every day and buy on the shelf. In today's Pro V1, going back generations, those two CPOs for certain and some others. And so the golf ball you're asking about it from Cam Young's standpoint, Pro V1X Left Double Dot, is part of that program. Cameron is a very, very high launching player. He's a very, very high spin player. And so we wanted to test with him some technology we had to bring those spin numbers and that flight into a place that gave him control he just didn't have before. And we worked with him for well over a year on that. And I can tell you, obviously it's very gratifying when he goes and wins his first PGA Tour event by 6 shots with that ball. But we were talking to him the next week saying, okay, what'd you like about it? What didn't you like about it? And what can we learn about that? And as we're thinking about 2027 Pro V1, 2029 Pro V1 down the road, those technologies, how might they be useful to fit the player needs as we move forward? So Pro V1X Double Left Dot is, again, a continuation of that program and has things that we're testing in it that we know will make their way into the lineup. This is just the best way to do it and learn about it. Mm-hmm. And we're excited, obviously, for Cam. He's a great brand ambassador for us. But we're excited really mostly because down the road, could be in 2 years, could be in 4 years, don't know. Golfers like you and I will benefit from that.
Right, yeah. And that's kind of how really everything started, right? I mean, we talked earlier about the original Pro V1 and how that began with the Titleist team walking with, you said, 100 players throughout the summer, trying to get their feedback on if this ball is going to be successful, if you guys have something special here. And it seems like that process, there might be some new technology that kind of enhance that process in 2025, but that process is still here. And so that's kind of how these, CPOs, as you're describing them, come to life a little bit. So that's kind of fun to hear that story and kind of the characteristics that Cam Young specifically, because there's only one Cam Young in the world, right, in terms of speed and the way he swings the club. So you probably have to make something pretty unique for him. So one other thing I wanted to touch on as well, this is my own personal question as somebody who uses the line on the Pro V1. So I've seen a couple different alignment, inscriptions or additions to on the golf balls, whether it's Tour Soft or whether it's Pro V1, Pro V1X. could you kind of speak on the advantages of those? What kind of research went into the designs that Titleist decided on, and moving forward, if there's going to be any changes or anything else that golfers can look for there?
It's a great question, Drew, and it's something my team has spent a lot of time on over the past really 5 years, focusing on learning about building capabilities to print and then validating with players, and now bringing them to market. Over 60% of Titleist golf ball users on the PGA Tour use an alignment aid when they putt. The most popular aid, and we've studied this, is a single line either over the side stamp or on the opposite pole. And when we look at that, we know that what tour players do is typically mirrored by the dedicated golfer. And we've spent a lot of time doing research around what alignment aids the player on tour might like and what the alignment aids the player in the recreational game might like. We have multiple options in Pro V1, Pro V1X, and Left Dash. The most popular being our 360, our AIM Enhanced Alignment golf ball, which is a 105-degree line with 2 flanking lines on either side of the side stamp. That's available in most golf shops today when you go shop for golf balls. We also have our AIM Performance line. That's a 4th pole alignment aid. It's a single line with 2 arrows at the end. It comes in black, blue, red, and pink. And that's available, again, in most golf shops and also on Titleist.com for golfers to test and try. We also have over 40 designs on Titleist.com that you can use and print on your golf ball and on that 4th pole. So we feel like we have, just in Pro V1 and Pro V1X and Left Dash, a plethora of options for players. Again, these designs are tour validated to help people play their best. We also have alignment aids available on AVX and TourSoft, and next year we'll also have them for Velocity and TrueFeel. So in 2026, you'll not only have options in white and at least another color in every golf ball in our lineup except for Left Dash, but you'll also have an alignment aid available for every single Titleist model next year, at least one. In the case of Pro V1 or Pro V1X, you'll have 3. So we're very excited about it. It's something that we know is growing, and we're looking to expand it and grow with it. And so stay tuned. There's more to come, but we're excited about where we are right now. It's been very popular in the market.
Yeah, Chris in the chat actually just said the AIM line is great for validating the true roll of the ball, or the ball kind of rolling, end over end, so to speak, right? And it's visually really good feedback in that regard, and that's one thing I really enjoyed in using it myself, is just the feedback that you get after a putt, especially. It's fantastic, in addition to, of course, all the other performance benefits of the golf balls here. So I think that's kind of what I have right here, Frederick, because when it comes to golf balls, I think, I'm going to say it again, I've said it so many times, but it's the one piece of equipment that you use for every golf shot. And so we wanted to make sure we got you on to talk about the lineup. And in terms of Titleist golf balls, I think it's, people understand the market share there, and Titleist just is the #1 brand when golfers are thinking about golf balls. And so we had to get it all broken down from the source, from Frederick. So Frederick, we thank you for joining us today. And I'll kind of plug what Frederick mentioned earlier one more time. There are a bunch of really good fitting resources available at Titleist.com to go get fit, whether that's a quick answer a few questions on their website or an actual fitting. Or, of course, you can schedule a fitting, a second swing, or talk to one of our experts, and we can get you a ball fitting as well, in addition to the club fitting services. But, Frederick, we thank you so much for the time. This has been fantastic. We've learned a lot here.
Great to be with you, Drew. Thank you very much for having me.